We got some great mussels with chorizo and a buttery broth. What you're going to need for this is some mussels. You can do clams, any kind of shellfish you like. This right here is mussels from the Mediterranean, similar to like Prince Edward Island mussels. One thing that you want to check and make sure when you get these mussels is sometimes they'll have a little beard on them. You want to make sure you pull that beard off. And sometimes if it's tough to get it off, just get you a little towel, pull it off. And that's what you're looking to get off. It's not going to hurt you, just when you get that in your mouth, it's going to be kind of fibrous. Okay? After you do that, also I guess one thing that's good to go over is when you're shopping for mussels or any kind of shellfish, you want to make sure you buy them live, because you want the freshest product you can get. And I should have kept one so I could show you, but as long as they're closed, that's what you want. If they're open, don't buy them. Get them next week when they get fresh ones in, or ask the seafood guy when you get fresh ones in or when's your next shipment coming in. Right here we're going to use some chorizo sausage. Chorizo this is a Mexican style sausage, full flavored, but you can do any sausage you want. Andouille, which I'm from Louisiana, I'd probably use andouille. Italian sausage, whatever you fancy. We're going to use, since we're here in Texas, we're going to use a little red onion to give it a little texture and just a good little onion flavor. Again, what we used earlier is that President butter. We're going to use President butter. This is a great premium butter that we sell here, but there are also tons of other butters here that we have as well. We're going to have some white wine, whatever white wine you have at home, okay? If you've got box wine that you use for cooking, that's perfect, no problem. I wouldn't use your high-end, white burgundy, if you will, but whatever white wine you have, it works perfectly. And then this is a good chicken stock that I've been using at home lately. It works really well. I don't have time to make chicken stock. I got 2 kids running around. This is a great box, or great package of chicken stock, or a great product, excuse me. And then, of course, a great baguette that I'm going to show y'all if you don't have a grill, how you can do a little olive oil sauteed baguette that goes really well. You got to have bread. If you don't have french fries with your mussels, you got to have bread. And then here we got fresh basil. This is how it comes in the package. This is living basil. You could actually buy this, use what you need for dinner, and then go plant it in your pot, and it'll keep producing. The gift that keeps giving. But what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and cut it off since we're just using it today. So we got fresh basil, tarragon, one of my favorite herbs. But again, this is one of those recipes that's so user-friendly, you can use whatever herb you like. And then I like using chives as garnish to make it look nice and sexy, but also to add a little finishing flavor as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go cook the chorizo, and we're going to saute the bread at the same time while we're over at the stove. Good baguette. I like to cut it on the bias, so it gives you more surface area to sop up all that good buttery broth. You hear that baguette, good and crunchy? Man, that's a killer sound when you're cutting baguette. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go cook our chorizo, and we'll saute our bread. So we've got our chorizo, little grapeseed oil again, because we're going to try and get a little sear on there. But you don't need much, because chorizo, or a Mexican style chorizo, does carry a good bit of fat on it due to the cut of meat that they use. Again, once you see that oil moving around nice and loose, you're good and hot. And you got the great sound. That's what we're going for. This is probably going to flame up a little bit. So what I like to do is I like to leave it alone. You know, a lot of people shake the pans too much. What I'm trying to do here is develop flavor. So I'm going to make sure there's one nice thin layer there. And we're going to try and get a good sear. See how that sounds really good? You see that it's starting to caramelize and get good flavor. All right, while we're doing that, we're going to saute our bread. Olive oil, and again, you don't want this super hot because you don't want the olive oil to burn. I do use olive oil for this because olive oil tastes really good in that bread. And hey, you can't get mad at me, I use butter too. Butter makes it better, that's how I was raised. Alright, so here we're going to give this a little toss. Coming along pretty solid on that. Now we're going to break up those chunks of chorizo. Oh yeah, this is going to be good. Alright, so that's about done. We're going to push that to the side. Now we're going to do our bread. We're going to watch our heat on this because we don't want it to burn. See, when it hits the pan, it's going to start sizzling a little bit. Oh yeah. Then you're just gonna keep flipping it. You'll get nice and brown. Put a touch of salt on there, touch of pepper, and that's almost done. All right, we're about done there. Now what we're gonna push this to the side. We're gonna get another pan. We're gonna go ahead and let this get warm. While that gets warm, we're gonna go over to the cutting board and chop our herbs. All right, so now we've got our basil, our tarragon. You know, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time chopping this up because I like it nice and rough chopped. I'm okay if I bite into a little leaf of basil or something like that. Just give it a nice burst of flavor. You always wanna make sure when you're chopping, you always put the knife down with the same amount of fingers that you started with. That's usually an important thing. All right, so we're gonna put our fresh herb in a little bowl. And then the chive, what we're gonna do is, this is basically gonna make it look like you're a trained professional. But we're gonna chop a little bit of it, fine diced. You wanna see that? This is the opportunity to give that that really fun restaurant chefy feel when you're at home. Okay, that's gonna be for that, and then here we're gonna cut those on the bias like that, and that's gonna be a cool little garnish to give it that nice restaurant feel like we were saying. All right, so here we are. We're ready to cook us up some good mussels. Start off with grapeseed oil. We're gonna saute off our red onions to get some good flavor. Bring our chorizo over here. Sorry. All right, there we go, our pan's hot. That lets us know that we're cooking with gas, and we're gonna hit the pan. One thing too that a lot of people think's really neat is when you're cooking vegetables and stuff like this, and you see that flame, you want to stay away from that, because that flame can put a real gassy flavor in whatever you're cooking. So although yeah, it does look fancy and all, once you hit the plate though, it's not very good. So if you have to toss it up, make sure you lift it away from the heat. All right, cool. Now we got a little bit of flavor on our onions. We're gonna go ahead and add our chorizo. Oh yeah, this is gonna come together really nice. And you know, I don't cook the onions for long because I like the onions to have a little bit of crunch when I bite into it. But if you're not a fan of that, just let your onions cook a little longer till they're tender and you'll be just fine. All right, now we're ready to add our mussels. We're gonna let that get nice and hot. And mussels are a very easy thing to cook. You cook them till the shell opens up. If you cook them any more than that, they're gonna be nice and chewy. Or not nice and chewy, they're gonna be chewy, and that's not what we're going for. All right, make sure everything, all those flavors are coming together. Let it get nice and hot. We're gonna add our white wine. And then we're gonna add this chicken stock. If you have another chicken stock that you like, no problem. If you make your own chicken stock, kudos to you. I wish I had time to do that. That's really cool. All right, now we got enough liquid in there. You know, I like getting a good bit of liquid in there because that's what makes all that great broth. Oh man, sopping that up with good bread makes it even better. Now, if you don't have a top for your pan at home, what I do is I take another pan, put it right on top, and you kind of want to create that steam in there. Take the lid off, We'll give them another little toss. See if we can get some of that chorizo to work inside the mussel. Check on them. They're about there, so what we're ready to do is we're gonna go ahead and add our butter. Probably about 2 tablespoons of butter. That seems like a lot, but you gotta think, you're sharing this with 2 or 3 people as a nice little snack. It's a good rich dish, but you gotta have butter in this dish. We'll give that a little toss one more time. Put our own little homemade lid on there. We're looking for that butter to melt. As soon as that butter melts, I like finishing with a touch of olive oil and then hit the plate. All right, now we'll take that top off. See how that liquid's tightening up a little bit? You want the viscosity to be a touch thicker than liquid, but not too thick. And of course, you gotta taste it. Oh yeah, that chorizo's great. At that point, we'll do a final seasoning, touch more salt. Of course, this is to taste, so if you don't think it needs it, don't do it. And then here's our great fresh herb, chopped basil, last minute. You don't want these flavors to, you don't want these herbs to cook. You want those oils to come out. Last minute, nice burst of flavor. Mixed up really well. There we go, that looks beautiful, doesn't it? And then what we're gonna do is finish it with a touch of olive oil. You don't have to do that if you don't like, but when you have really nice olive oil, it's kind of hard not to. All right, groovy. Now let's hit the plate. When you plate at home, this is kind of a fun time, like I said earlier. So you can do very simple little plating methods to make yourself look nice and fancy. You know, have a nice kind of restaurant fare at home. What I like to do is, I like to get the mussels in there first. Some of the sausage. And I really try hard to get a bunch of height in the middle. Simple little things like that will really go a long way and make your guest really impressed. And then be generous on that broth, because that's the best part. There we go. Like that. And then of course, since we're trying to look fancy, you always want to wipe the rim. Okay. Like that. And then we got some chive. And then you don't want a lot of these, but just a couple. Just to make it look nice and sexy. And then take some bread. Look at that. Trained professional. You pull that off at home, you'll be doing just fine.